First off, thank you for taking a few minutes with me today. I'd like to see us do this maybe every quarter or so, that allow us to reach out and give some information out to the public that they may not gather at a regular council meeting or a workshop. So, your first question with the Lowhead Dam. From what I've been told, the project has been pushed back about 1 year. The reason being that the consultant that was hired to do the studies that had to be done prior to the actual removal of the dam had to do a lot more research than was anticipated at first. They had to do research on the Indiana bat. They had to do research on there's mussels that live in the river, both above and below the dam. The good news is the quality of the water is very good. However, they needed to do more extensive research that they had not anticipated when they first put together the calendar. From my understanding, they have told me in a recent meeting that they are planning on clearing the trees that need to be cleared probably sometime in January or February of this winter. And then the project is hoping to be bid out actually either December or January of this year. And then destruction, I guess you would call it, would be started next year sometime. The property where the high school is going to remain the athletic football field. The tennis courts will remain, so that area will be still dedicated to the football stadium. The piece of land where the junior high or the middle school and the elementary school sit, there are intentions of the school and the city council, who recently met probably about 6 weeks ago, to talk about the future of that property. There seemed to be a consensus amongst both the board and the council that they would like to dedicate that area for recreational purposes. The east third of the property is going to remain a football practice field, where the school is located is going to be torn down, cleaned up, and there is a dream of, or a vision to possibly put in a splash pad. Splash pad is an area where the kids can play that has waterfalls and spouting up from the ground, etc. So for young kids like that. There's also talk amongst those to see us try to put in a small skateboard park. I know many of the merchants here in town like to see the skateboarders go somewhere, and I know the skateboarders, they're a bunch of good people, and they do need somewhere where they can have fun and enjoyment in a safe environment. Someone approached me the other day of consideration for a dog park. Just something small fenced in where the dogs can play and run. So that's an idea. But the schools and the council have gotten together. They've had an agreement of trying to dedicate that area for recreational purposes. It's an interesting to note that we were told by some students from there that the gym teacher had measured it out, and around that block is, I was told, a half a mile. So we would like to keep the sidewalks and or any type of walking path around that area. 2 laps is a mile. So I think the parents would appreciate that as well. Well, actually, the number one strength of this community is its people. We have a very dedicated and a fantastic council. They bring different points of view, but they speak as one voice. There's a cohesion there. Number two is, when I talk about people, are my employees. We have just a great, fantastic set of employees, very dedicated, give you 110% every day. And then the people of this town. And I mean that. This is my 6th community that I've had the pleasure to serve and to manage. And it is by far my most favorite community. And that includes even my hometown where I was born and raised. This community has a lot of energy. There's a lot of positive people in this community that want to do good and see good. So the answer to your question is the people, and that's our strength. To capitalize on that is to all of us working together to generate more ideas on how to make this community grow, keep the small town feel, and to make the most of all of our assets. And we need to do that by working together.
Great.
This municipality, or this village, is challenged by we're a bedroom community, so to speak. Yes, we have some small businesses in here in town. We don't have the large manufacturing firm. But in reality, the large manufacturing firm is far and few between. But people think, well, you should just be able to attract someone to come here. If you go on the history of those towns that have large manufacturing facilities, many of them have been built by someone who lives in that community. We need to market ourselves and to convince business people that this is a good place to do business. We're only 10 minutes from Dayton International Airport. We're only 10 minutes from I-70. We're only 10 minutes from I-75. So when you talk about location, 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 we have that. We have a populace that's willing to work and is proud and happy of living here, and calling this their hometown. Our biggest challenge is to try to grow that, make this not just a bedroom community, but also a community where people are working. That's number one. Number two is we need to manage, just like any other community, but we need to manage our finances properly. We have a strong budget, and we have a very healthy surplus, or a carryover as they call it, and we want to maintain that. So it's the idea of being able to do things and to let off on the accelerator and knowing when to do that. The economy, and that's really a catchphrase that every government is using right now, but it's true. The economy is the biggest challenge. I don't have to tell you, and I don't have to tell anybody else, gas prices are going up at the pump, but I see on Wall Street that the price of the barrel of oil is still down. Can anyone explain to me why the price of the pump is going up? And then they don't want to count that as part of inflation in the national economy. That doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, I'm not running for any political office, but those are things that are frustrating, and there's a lot of people that haven't had a raise in a while, and prices are going up. Milk goes up, bread goes up, gasoline goes up, clothing goes up, and yet our salaries are not going up. And that's a challenge throughout the country, not just here and unique in West Milton. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But it concerns me because If you look at West Milton or any other village as a business, our revenues are not keeping up with inflation. A set of tires for a pickup truck have gone up. I've already mentioned gasoline prices, asphalt prices, salt prices, the chemicals at the wastewater treatment plant. You know, everything is, anything and everything that we do, we're experiencing that increase while our revenues are not maintaining pace. So we need to try to balance that in being able to provide proper services to our residents and yet not spend too much money. I would rate the infrastructure here in town, I would probably give it I'd give it an A based on the employees and the work that they do. But in reality, we have a lot of older storm sewer and sewer lines that need attention, and some water lines that need attention. And you know, we're putting together a plan over the last few months. You probably have seen we're put together a plan of what we have to do to be able to tackle that issue. You know, the Ohio EPA has put us under orders to fix our infiltration and inflow problem, nicknamed an I&I problem. And that I would probably give us a C, maybe even a C minus. And it's nothing unique in this community. Every community, once you put a line in the ground, should be good for 50 years. Well, that's what's happened. Well, it's beyond the 50-year lifespan. So it is time for us to start upgrading our weakest or our oldest areas. But we'll get them back up to an A.
Great.
That's a great question. It's a difficult question to answer, but one of the things that I think we do a good job with is our park system. We have the triathlon, we have the July 4th, we'll have the Fall Fest. So we do a good job with doing that, but I would like to see us actually, what we're watching right now. This is an asset, using WMPA in a more proactive way. I would like to see us do that over the next year or two, to grow it. It's a tool to be able to share information, but it's also a tool for the community to share in and of itself. And so that's an asset that I believe is underutilized.
Great.
Actually, two answers to that question. It's not a surprise, and I've already mentioned it. We're a bedroom community. And what I mean by that is we have some employment here, but it's mostly service-based. But I'd like to see some additional service-based businesses to be attracted here. I'd like to see us have an improved car wash. I'd like to see us have maybe some little additional restaurants. I'd like to see us have other types of service-oriented businesses. And I think that we have that populace that would be attracted to, or a business that would be attracted to this populace. However, on the flip side, we have an empty building on Main Street. You know, it's a manufacturing building. That's what we need to really start to market ourselves. And then how about across the river? There's 300 acres. That's prime for industrial growth. It would be an ideal place for a manufacturing firm with 300 jobs to come. That's something that we need to strive and to work toward. We're not Tip City. We're not Troy. They have some bigger advantages than we do. But who's to say that we couldn't get a supplier that's going to supply Abbott Foods with something that they could locate right across the river? It would be an ideal location for them. Community Pride Award. It was the brainchild of our city council. When I first started here, one of the tasks given to me by the village council was to concentrate on those residents or households that weren't meeting the community standards as put in by the Code of Ordinances. High grass, noxious weeds, maybe junk vehicles, etc. We've tried to tackle that problem, and I've seen quite a bit of a positive response in parts of town in being able to do that. But council realized, we're so much concentrating on those homes or those households that aren't meeting the code, we're ignoring the fact that there are those who we could quite frankly say exceed the code and do such a great job and take such great pride in their homes. And council created a Community Pride Award. They recognized, it's in its 2 months now, it'll be in its third month come August, and they've been able to recognize 6 households thus far that show that pride in themselves and show pride in the community. And so that was the brainchild of the city council. And we have taken nominations both internally, and anyone who feels that their neighbor deserves that should call, write, email us, and let us know. And that's the easiest way. Just communicate with us.
Great.
A few short-term goals for the next year. There's been some things administratively that haven't been done in the last few years. I intend to get back into putting us back onto a 5-year capital plan. The capital plan, the 5-year capital plan hasn't been done in several years. That's something that we're actually working on right now as we speak. Number 2, you may have heard that we are going to receive, or we're hoping to receive, a grant in tearing down the PVP building in downtown and to build a parking lot. Haven't got the final word from the state of Ohio, but I would anticipate that we will receive that. However, there is a lot of prep work that needs to be done this year before the building can be torn down next year. I've signed a contract with an environmental firm that has to do what's called a phase 1 and an asbestos study on the building before it can be bid out and torn down. They're proceeding with that work right now. We just mentioned the schools that are being torn down. I'd like to start doing prep work on what's that park and what's that recreational area going to look like. We do need to fill some boards, park board being one of them. So we're looking for volunteers that want to serve and be part of that growth in our recreation department. We're currently doing an income survey throughout the community. I know that some people are saying to us, hey, it's none of your business what the household income is. Well, I'm not asking for your name. I'm not asking for your social security number. We're just doing a random survey of 400 homes. Why are we doing that? Because we need that information to seek grants to help pay for a splash pad at the park and things of that nature. The grant applications are asking for, have you done an income survey? The community has never done an income survey to my knowledge. That's why we're doing it. It's really to help us put us onto a level playing field with the bigger communities to be able to seek those dollars. That's why we're doing that. That study will be done this fall, but we'll be aggressive next year at being able to go after as much grant money or funding that we possibly can. Finally, I'd like to put together a solid plan. And I'm not saying we're going to turn over any dirt next year, but I'd like to put together a solid plan as to what needs to be done with our police department or the police building itself. They're working out of a shoebox, and it's being held together by duct tape and bubble gum. And we need to grow that and put together a plan, not only what it would look like, but to put a financial plan together. Therefore, going after grant money. Going after grant money, we have to do the income survey. That explains, or I hope, answers some of the questions on why we're doing that survey. I just want to thank you, and I look forward to possibly getting questions from the community, and be happy to answer them anytime.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.